Hi, this is Aisha and welcome to a new video of Read a Day Club. It's been a while, hasn't it? The last time I shot a video for YouTube was, I think, 6 months back, and I honestly couldn't find a better time to pick up where I left off for two reasons. One of them being that today I will be talking about one of Murakami's short stories. Now, I'm sure you've heard of this short story, especially now because its film adaptation is just around the corner and it has received such great reviews and even a few Oscar nominations. And the story that I'm talking about is Drive My Car. This is a short story that is a part of a collection of short stories by Murakami, that is Men Without Women. Now, I read this short story a few years ago. I read all of the short stories actually that are part of this book, and with the film's release just around the corner, I decided to read the short story again. And it was a very brief encounter, to be honest, because Drive My Car is hardly 40 pages long. It took me, I think, less than a day to complete it. And his film adaptation, Drive My Car, directed by Ryusuke Hamaguchi, is I have heard such great things about his films, more specifically Happy Hour and I think Asako I and II. Those are also on my watch list, along with Drive My Car. And coming from a place of total reverence, for the lack of a better word, for the world of Murakami, and also because I have watched, and since I've watched a few of Murakami's film adaptations, Burning by the director Chang-dong is one of them. So I highly recommend that you watch that film, especially if you enjoy reading Murakami. I mean, even if you haven't read any of Murakami's stories, I think watching that film is a good gateway for you to understand how Murakami writes and why he writes the way he does. And so anyway, now, about Murakami's Drive My Car. The story perfectly begins where it's supposed to. Now, if you're familiar with, Murakami's storytelling, you will know that no other start of a story, no other possibility for a start of a story fits other than the one Murakami actually chooses to write. And, if you might question some other writer's beginning or the ending of a story or just the entire flow of a story, but with Murakami there's something singularly sincere and heartfelt and visceral about the way he chooses to begin his stories. And if you're interested in, and if you haven't read Murakami, I would definitely recommend you watch my sister's video. She's spoken about her top 5, I think, Murakami reads. I think she speaks of Kafka on the Shore, Wind Up Bird Chronicle, and Norwegian Wood. Those are my favorites as well, but I do have a soft, spot for his Colorless Suguru Tazaki and his Years of Pilgrimage. And the reason for that being is that it's just the way that Murakami relates a person's name to colors, so that you not only perceive the colors by sight, but you are able to feel something within those shades, something more intimate and sentimental. There's also the journey of the protagonist, into his past self, his memories, and how he's trying to make sense of it all. And, something about that makes the story very, very endearing and something that I personally related to. There's a lot of that intense soul searching in Drive My Car as well, examining who you are, where you come from, calling yourself out whenever you find something even remotely aching, trying to get to the bottom of that ache. The passing of time also plays a very important role in Drive My Car. There is mention of Anton Chekhov's very famous play Uncle Vanya. The sort of parallels that are drawn between forbearance and disquietude between Uncle Vanya and Drive My Car is also something that I found very, very interesting to read. I love how the stoic sadness and withdrawal of characters sort of come out, and that's something that I think Murakami does really well. He tries to contain infinite feelings and infinite emotions inside of finite spaces, and in the case of Drive My Car, it is that inside of a moving car. Even the kind of relationships that one is a part of, how they define a person, where one is left wondering whether those tiny fragments of existence, of relationships, even do matter when all you're trying to do at the end of the day is search for meaning in everything you do. This reminds me of something that I read in the short story about, looking into your own heart as a portal to seeing another person. But the proposition that we can look into another person's heart with perfect clarity strikes me as a fool's game. I don't care how well we think we should understand them or how much we love them. All it can do is cause us pain. Examining your own heart, however, is another matter. I think it's possible to see what's in there if you work hard enough at it. So in the end, maybe that's the challenge, to look inside your own heart as perceptively and seriously as you can, and to make peace with what you find there. If we hope to truly see another person, we have to start by looking within ourselves. Now, this story, in a lot of ways, actually this is also true of almost all of Murakami's novels. They are a kind of lived experience. You are more immersed in how something in the story is unraveling without Murakami actually giving you any, concrete reason for it. But this doesn't mean that Murakami's characters are not rooted. They are quite rooted, they are quite complex and fallible human beings. And it is this quality also that makes his stories so surreal and worth remembering. The little intricate details are worth reading about again and again, and trying to bring together all the elements and just witnessing how they form a whole, much like human existence. Murakami also insists on the immediacy of living, capturing those very real and distinct and palpable moments that one lives through right now, and this has nothing to do with one's past or future timelines. Now, this reminds me of something that I recently read in A Lover's Discourse Fragments by Roland Barthes. He wrote that yourself or identity or beingness or soul, whatever you want to call it, is very conscious of the present moment. In fact, it's completely disconnected from the past and the future. So it concerns itself only with what is now. And that's who you should focus on. That's the person you eventually become. Who you will be tomorrow is just another version of yourself. And by extension, who you were yesterday is somebody else too. You sense a lot of that in Drive My Car as well. Murakami achieves these details in a very strange yet beautiful manner, and he embeds certain objects into the story that you're already very familiar with, but somehow over the course of the story they sort of take on a very unexpected form and become even more meaningful and intimate, and they just contribute to the whole atmosphere of the story. Now, the protagonist has deeply attached his identity, his being and becoming to his aging car. So there's this whole entire meditation on the appearance of his car, how it functions, which is, I think, parallel to his own aging self, which he reflects upon as a portal for his past memories. And that entire dialogue feels very realistic. It feels very deeply familiar and meaningful. I find that stories very interesting to read about and watch, as a matter of fact. Stories with trains and cars, just a lot of movement from one place to another. And another film that I can think of right away when I think about, sort of such intense feelings being contained inside of a moving car, I think of Abbas Kiarostami's Taste of Cherry, where a middle-aged man is just driving around the city having very philosophical, intense and reflective conversations with numerous strangers. Now, whenever I do mention certain films in my videos or when I post about them on Instagram, a lot of people ask me where I managed to find such films to watch, and that would be on MUBI, which is an incredible streaming platform with so many good films, and Taste of Cherry is on there too. In fact, I would highly recommend you watch all of Kiarostami's films on MUBI. They're just one of a kind. And this brings me to my second reason and the highlight of today's video, which is that MUBI is releasing Drive My Car's film adaptation by the director Ryusuke Hamaguchi on MUBI on the 1st of April, and I'm just so very grateful and just so thrilled to be collaborating with MUBI for this film. I think that Drive My Car is a very picturesque and beautiful and gripping story. can get a free 3-month MUBI subscription by following our link, which is mubi.com/readadayclub. I have added the link in the description as well, and you'll immediately get a 3-month free subscription to MUBI, which means you can watch Drive My Car immediately and as many times as you want. I mean, because I'm sure that that film and that story deserves to be savored more than once. And also there are so many other great films as well on MUBI that you can watch. So don't forget to click the link below to get your MUBI subscription for 3 whole months for free after watching this video. Now, at the end of the story, Murakami writes that the self that one returns to is never exactly the same as the self that one had left behind. And I think that this is so true when I think of all the films that I have rewatched on MUBI, because they have definitely just sort of changed my perspective about a lot of things. And a big thank you again to MUBI for this collaboration. If you're still here, please don't forget to click the link in the description box below, which is mubi.com/readadayclub, to get your 3-month free subscription. So anyway, this is Aisha from Read a Day Club, and I'll see you guys next time.